That's how it all works. I mean, the Democratic Party at this point is the party of hating Trump. They don't have anything else. They don't have any policies that are effective that anybody likes. Look at this whole fake Inflation Reduction Act. It was full of things that aren't going to help anybody. All they do is they boost Chinese industry in, solar.
Well, somebody's got to do that.
Someone's got to. It may as well be us. It may as well be our tax dollars. The big way that they're going to pay for this bill and reduce the deficit, their whole plan is to collect taxes from us
from
and
lower
to
income
audit
people.
Us, right?
Not audits.
They talked about audits. They're talking about audits.
No. Hold on. Audits will happen. Middle and lower income people will be audited, but it's not the main issue.
They're also raising our taxes.
They're probably not doing that, and this is the game they're playing. Biden comes out and he says, we are not raising taxes on anybody who makes less than $400,000, and we're not going to be increasing audits on these people. That's the trick. What's really going to happen, anybody who runs a business knows this. June, you get a letter in the mail from the IRS and it says you owe us an additional $1,593. Send your check here. There's no audit. There's no dispute. An audit implies they want to be fair with you and make sure they're getting the numbers right.
Oh,
they don't
this
need
is the thing. Oh, I see. That's interesting.
They just send you the bill. Yep. And this is why,
because that's what they do to me every year. I get my accountant does the thing. He says you're going to get this much money back, and then when I get the money back, I get way less, and the government says we actually took a whole bunch more.
Yep. And I know so many of you listening, this has happened to you. The game they're playing
every year. The federal government and New York State and the city.
And this is where I see all the conservatives making a big mistake when they're saying things like, oh, they're lying. They're going to audit you. It's like, well, look, maybe there probably will be more audits. Washington Post even said it's going to be middle income people. There's more money to be gained out of going after lower income people than going after rich people.
Yeah, because lower income people aren't going to do anything. They're just going to be like, oh, they took a bunch of my money. I still have to get little Johnny off to school.
But the audit implies the IRS is being fair with you.
Interesting.
To assume that you're going to get audited is to assume the IRS is like, we'd like more money from you, but we're going to give you a chance to prove you don't owe it.
So you're saying it's just another, like everything additionally is another rhetorical trick.
Of course,
in
semantic trick.
Like the climate thing. The climate thing in the bill is if you can afford to redo your house, you can get some credits by putting solar on it. That's if you have a house and can afford to redo it.
Well, the last few months of this Congress has taught me a valuable lesson about the power you have when you have a majority, is you can essentially just troll the ever-living crap out of the opposition into voting against something that should be considered highly popular, but you give it a popular title, but do things in the bill that don't actually do what that title implies. And there have been so many
They do that all the time.
Yeah, but there have been so many instances of, like, it's just in the last couple months, we had the Inflation Reduction Act, which is not going to reduce inflation anyway. They had the Putting Baby Formula on the Shelves Act, or some crap like that, which the only thing that bill did was give the FDA more salaries and expenditures, the FDA, which caused the baby formula shortage in the first place. But they were able to claim that Republicans voted against baby formula. They've done so many things like this.
The American Rescue Plan or whatever.
Yeah, are you feeling rescued right now? I'm not.
You know
it's getting worse. I read that farmers are having to destroy fields because the droughts are so bad, the plants aren't growing anymore, and they can't make it work.
Meanwhile, the Department of Agriculture decided to give out grants and loans based on the race of farmers.
Yeah.
And nobody talked about this. This was over a year ago. And then courts struck it down finally and was like, oh, actually, you know what? That's discriminatory. We have this crazy thing called the Civil Rights Act. What was
the situation they were doing with farmers?
So the Department of Agriculture during COVID decided to give out a bunch of grants and loans to farmers, right, to help farmers out. But the way that they decided to do it was to prioritize non-white farmers. And their reasoning was that this would be a correction for past discrimination done by the Department of Agriculture. And eventually, a bunch of farmers brought suit and said that's discrimination. And a court finally said, you know what, you can't discriminate in the present to try and correct discrimination in the past.
But they're doing this all over the country too, not just with farmers. Like, there was just a story that I saw the other day out of Minneapolis, which, Minneapolis has just become a ridiculous place. But the Minneapolis School Board just
got the school district.
They got a new contract with their union that said, in the event that the school needs to be downsized, white teachers get fired before minority teachers,
regardless of seniority.
That's illegal.
That is literally illegal. And
and you know what? There was a lot of backlash because, of course, that's remarkably discriminatory and racist.
Yeah.
And the school district was like, we're going to do it anyway. We think it's correct. And they had the same argument, which is that it corrects for past discrimination. But we already have this precedent. You can't discriminate in the present to correct discrimination in the past.
They're doing it.
They're doing it anyway.
And so this is the issue.
Yes.
Cultural enforcement is always way more powerful.
There are some instances where you could discriminate in the present. Like, say there were two warring parties, and one warring party killed all the fathers and then took the children as slaves, and now they own all the land. And you're like, well, the children now of the dead fathers are like, we want our land back. And you're like, sorry, you can't discriminate against the conquerors in the present because of what you're like. Yo, actually, we can. But you just killed my dad. Like, I can definitely discriminate against the guy that murdered my father.
You're talking about an individual.
Totally
there are situations where you can discriminate in the present to make equality of opportunity. Okay. But I don't think this is one of them.
Right. So discrimination in the most literal sense, it is not what we're actually talking about. Discriminate means like when you choose to go down a road that looks better. Right. We're not talking about that. If you're talking about a group of people that committed an active crime in real time, and then we were like, hey, we're going to stop that and bring about justice. Yeah, we have a civil court for that.
Yeah, but it's
we have
like
criminal and civil courts.
If it happened like 60 years ago, and now they're all kind of established, all the conquerors now own the land.
You're talking about reparations.
Talking about colonialism and reparations, yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of a different situation. I don't think that's what the Department of Agriculture was trying to do, because they weren't talking about colonialism. They were talking about the Department of Agriculture having previously perhaps discriminated against or in favor of white farmers.
There's also going to the Supreme.
So it's a little different.
Going to the Supreme Court in the next term is going to be a case involving Harvard discriminating against white and Asian students. There's a lawsuit over that's going to be.
And Harvard keeps. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And it's going to. And they're going to.
And you know what's hilarious about that is the Biden Justice Department, the Biden administration, who makes a whole. They brought BTS to the White House to talk about how we have to stop Asian hate. They are literally defending Harvard in this case. The DOJ filed an amicus brief defending Harvard's discriminatory admissions practices against Asians.
Harvard actually keeps saying that they should discriminate against Asian students. And they've also said, in talking about why it's important for them to discriminate, they said, if we're not allowed to discriminate, then how will we be able to judge entrance essays that talk about people's, difficulties being racially whatever? That's their argument.
That's not an argument.
It's not a good argument. No, it's total trash.
That's the thing.
They're just racists.
Well, that's the thing about like this.
Well, Harvard was racist. Like they owned slaves.
Yeah.
That was the thing though about like when Stop Asian Hate became like a huge hashtag, like as if out of nowhere racism was happening against Asians. And it's like the biggest source of racism happening against Asian Americans is happening on the admissions boards of Ivy League colleges.
Well, and high schools, and Lowell College, Lowell High School,
literally in all schools,
and in New York City.
In all schools across the country. But like the focus was as if there's like white supremacists out there who are all of a sudden discriminating.
There is a disproportionately large amount of Asians at these schools, and they can't have that. They don't like the fact that there's a community that for some reason or other prides themselves on academia or something like that.
Well, you know,
and so the way I describe it to people is, if you're in favor of this, then here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to some inner city kid who's Asian, and I want you to be the one to explain to him why he's not allowed to go to an Ivy League school because he looks too much like those other people.
Well, the thing that it shows too is that Democrats don't think that minorities are Americans. They think that they are separate.
Right.
And need to be treated some separate and different way.
Look,
so they're like actually racist. They have this bigotry of low expectations. It's the whole thing. Yeah. So they don't think Asian kids should get the same opportunity as Americans. They don't think that black kids should be held to the same standards as Americans. And they're the ones who are differentiating and deciding that the people who are getting everything are the white people and that everybody else needs to be treated some different and special way.
And it's like,
meanwhile, like anyone who thinks reasonably realizes that all these kids are obviously Americans and deserving of the same opportunity to excel on their own merits.
I think some of them aren't American. Isn't that the thing, is that some are kids that are foreign coming to Harvard?
Yeah, but I don't think that's it. I think it's mostly Asian American kids.
This also like hurts, like this type of mindset also hurts them. Like I remember there were these huge stories that have gone around in the last year about how like inner city schools in Baltimore and San Francisco and in all these other places, a lot of the kids like couldn't read past like a 4th or 5th grade level, yet they were passing all of their classes. Like they're deliberately inflating their GPAs and that's like hurting them. Like, how does that help somebody when you deliberately inflate their GPA because they're a certain race, even though they can't read past like a level that they should be able to?
Well, now that they have at Lowell High School in San Francisco, now that they have made it more of a lottery system so that you can get in regardless of what your grades are, the grades across the board have gone down. Like the school is not serving students as well academically as it had been.
They're also now rolling out in a lot of schools this equity diversity grading system, which takes race into account in how grades are calculated.
Jeez. Which is ridiculous.
It's crazy. Yeah. And that's and that's why this is actually another
cultural enforcement.
I work with a PAC. Part of my I didn't really introduce what I do at the beginning of at the top of the show. I did my toast to Liz Cheney being defeated. But what I work for a company called X Strategies, and we work with a lot of conservative organizations doing consulting and digital work. And one of the people we work with is a school board PAC, they're called the 1776 Project PAC. Shout out to my friend Ryan Gerdusky. And they are a PAC that is seeking to replace school board members with people who won't do any of this crap. And they've done a very good job of it. And it's important that if you want to get this out of your schools, to vote in school board elections, because a lot of the ways that these woke school board members get in that leads to all of these policies is the fact that very, very few people know when school board elections are happening at all. And so next week in Florida, there's a primary election next Tuesday, and the governor and the senator's races, obviously DeSantis and Marco Rubio are going to win their primaries by a mile, but every county in Florida has a school board election on the ballot. And so the fact that these big races that get all of the national attention may lead to some Republicans staying home. You can't stay home because your school board is on the ballot. And if a candidate gets over 50% in these elections, they automatically win. Wow. And so Republicans, if you are watching and you are a parent in Florida, you need to vote in your school board election next Tuesday, because that is because like a lot of these stories you're seeing about woke school boards are happening in insanely red areas. And it's literally, and the reason they get in is because only the teachers unions know that these school board elections are happening, and they get their people to vote, and all of everyone there stays home.
Well, it's been so interesting too to see DeSantis going out and endorsing candidates for the school board. I've never seen anyone endorse candidates for school board before. And now I get like press releases about like who DeSantis is endorsing for
it's time to start paying attention.
Florida. Yeah.
These are important elections.
Yeah, these local elections impact your life a lot more than these like national elections do. A school board election has a direct impact on you in a way that a congressional election does not. Correct. Now, it's important to vote in both, obviously, but there is a distinction to be made.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast. And there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and we'll see you all there.